Donald Trump was heralding an imminent end to the pandemic yesterday. Today, he's got coronavirus, and so does his close aide, Hope Hicks, and the First Lady.
The President and the First Lady tested positive for COVID-19. They remain in good spirits. The President does have mild symptoms, and as we look to try to make sure that not only his health and safety and welfare is good, we continue to look at that for all of the American people.
More than 70 million of the American people were watching as the president's family ignored a mandatory mask rule at the presidential debate. And Mr. Trump mocked his Democratic opponent.
You have to understand, if you look, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I wear masks when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
The next day, he set off for a raucous rally in Minnesota, embraced by a crowd who seemed to share his disdain for face coverings. His advisor, Hope Hicks, started to feel sick and self-isolated. But on Thursday, Mr. Trump went on to Bedminster to meet more supporters, returning to the White House with a triumphant message.
We are on track to develop and distribute a vaccine before the end of the year, and maybe substantially before. And I just want to say that the end of the pandemic is in sight, and next year will be one of the greatest years in the history of our country.
Hours later, an ominous letter from the White House physician confirming the president and his wife were in fact infected. That set off a mad rush of contact tracing across Washington and beyond. The incubation period is 2 to 14 days. That means if you get coronavirus, you don't become infectious until 2 to 14 days, creating a lot of uncertainty and requiring a lot of transparency too. The Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and his wife have tested negative. Earlier he tweeted, "Jill and I send our thoughts to President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump for a swift recovery. We will continue to pray for the health and safety of the president and his family." But they know the nation's leadership has been thrown into disarray, an election already rich with jeopardy, now drowning in it. The president's critics hope it's the start of an overdue learning curve.
Going into crowds, unmasked and all the rest, was sort of a brazen invitation for something like this to happen. Sad that it did, but nonetheless hopeful that it will be a transition to a saner approach to what this virus is all about.
Voters will be the ultimate judge and jury. But after months of playing down the pandemic, Mr. Trump's political fortunes are looking considerably more precarious.
Yeah, I think the behavior has been very imprudent, and it's hard to tell everybody else in the country to take drastic steps to change their behavior in order to blunt the impact of the disease, and then to see the president not do the same thing. I think it's sent mixed messages. I think it's helped, sadly, to politicize debate over the proper handling of the virus. And it's not just been in this country that we've seen that, but it's certainly concerning when the president himself is directly contributing to it.
One man who can at least empathise with the political and personal toll of getting COVID-19 when you're meant to be advising others is Boris Johnson.
See, I think we all want to send our best wishes to the President and the First Lady, and I've done that this morning, as you can imagine, and I'm sure that they'll both stage a very strong recovery.
The President's relationship with his scientific advisors has often felt tenuous and tumultuous. He blazed his own trail. That's about to become a whole lot harder.